Okay, here we are. Another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies. Hey, Peter.
Morning, Bill, or
Here we go.
afternoon, and all
Here
that
we
other
go.
stuff.
Here we go.
Hey, folks, here we are.
Episode number 344. Ooh, we're getting up there.
330, 44 or 334?
Oh, that's a good question.
What did it say on my email?
It's 344. Yeah.
Okay.
That's the way it is. 344.
Wow.
We're getting up there, Peter. Close to 350, huh?
Mm-hmm.
All right. The name of today's episode is ready? I'm not. There we go. Ready?
Ready.
Finding time to create real estate deals effectively.
Finding time.
We did one a long time ago, but I have a whole different perspective on it. Today is going to be kind of a weird podcast.
Oh, today?
Yeah, today. Today we are going in the dregs of Bill's mind. So I don't know how well this podcast is going to go off. So let's just do it and see what happens. Here's a description.
Mm-hmm.
Tick, tick, tick. Can't find enough time to do real estate. Can't find enough time to do creative real estate deals. Even when you know if you did, it could make you financially free. You have undoubtedly discovered time is the most precious asset any entrepreneur possesses. Time to solve problems, invent, create, think, and plan. Time to develop your creative real estate marketing, sales, management, training, and profitable breakthroughs. Also, you can turn your time into money and live a better life. You have decided to do something. That takes guts, talent, knowledge, but often struggle with getting it all done. Time. In this profound podcast, we're going to give you a perspective and number one most powerful personal entrepreneurial shift you can ever make to attain your freedom in life, and how to be successful beyond your wildest dream in life. And you will never find these concepts anywhere else. They are unique to this single episode. So listen carefully and make sure you listen all the way to the end before you make any decisions on what time is and how to use it.
Oh, what time is? We're going to go that deep.
Yeah.
Well, let's do that one. What time is? We're going to be using quantum physics today. Einstein.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so before we get started, let's do our housekeeping. So first thing you should know is that we record this podcast every Thursday morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sorry about that if you're working or if that's not good for you, but that's how we've been able to get 344 podcasts, because that's when Peter and I could do it.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we record it on Thursday, it gets released on Monday. I never say that part. It gets released on Monday on the podcast platforms. Mm-hmm. But if you would like to join us, you can go to Facebook, because we live stream it to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You can go to any one of those platforms and you could ask questions or put your comments in there. I will see them if you are live with us. And I request that you just ask questions about the podcast. If you have other questions, you can go to WhatsApp Messenger and type in "Let's Talk Real Estate," and you can join there. Or you can send me a personal support ticket to flippinghousesforrookies.com. I answer all those. If you would like the link for Let's Talk Real Estate because you can't find it on WhatsApp, just send me a support ticket at Flipping Houses for Rookies. Top right hand side, there's a support ticket there. There's a bunch of goodies there too, a bunch of free stuff. So if you go to that website, it's really cool. Last thing is in the comment section, there is a link that you can get stuff that will help you with each podcast. I'm in the midst of changing that stuff because about a month ago or about 4 or 5 episodes ago, the service I was using to keep track of my links, my link tracker, shut me down. I still don't know the reason why. I'm back up again, but I don't trust them, so I'm working on something different. So, anyways, that's the way the cookie crumbles.
Gee, Bill, I didn't even know you had a link tracker.
Oh yeah.
I think I have one of those too. It's on a piece of paper, goes down one side and goes onto the other one. But I don't know what that is. No, never mind. Never mind. You're so fancy. Link trackers.
Oh, yeah. Boy. All right, good. So let's get going with today's episode. Time.
Tick.
What is it?
Talk.
It's not a clock.
Tick.
It's not a watch.
Talk.
It's not on your phone. Tick. The internet, when you look it up, says this as a definition. The infinite continued progress of existence and events in the past, present, and future regarded as a whole. That's pretty ambiguous.
It's kind of too big to deal with. Got something tighter, smaller?
Oh, yeah. I have my own perspective. I don't know if this is true. I'm not a physicist, but I have my own perspective. So the definition is the infinite continued progress of existence and events in the past, present, and future regarded as a whole. But unfortunately, this doesn't really help us when we are swallowed by our days, weeks, and months, right?
Oh no, infinity doesn't help. Infinity,
yeah.
Jesus.
I mean,
yeah.
How does
problem.
How does that definition get us creative real estate? How does that work?
Yeah, infinity. No.
So most view time as one long obstacle course. Very well struck. Very well used there. Most view time as one long obstacle course that is just fed to them and need to survive it. So our internet definition fits.
Yeah.
Right? It's
too much to deal with. It's just too much. It's overwhelming. Infinite. It's just too much when you look at it like that. Or, it could be worse. Well, I have plenty of time. I'll do it later. How about that one?
We can always do it tomorrow. We could do it tomorrow, right?
Yeah, my wife has a favorite word called tomorrow, like you just said, tomorrow.
Then one day, so I want to back up again. So most view time as one long obstacle course that is just fed to them and need to survive it. So our internet definition fits in. Then one day we decide to do something about our life to get time back. So we can be financially free.
Yeah.
So we decide financially free. That's how I can get my time back. That'll do it. And you convince yourself of that. I'll make so much money, I can do what I want with my time.
Oh, I see where you're going. Go ahead.
Right? Am I off base?
No. But it's like I need the money so I can have the time.
Right.
Maybe
then so we decide, okay, let's do real estate, or even more definitive, let's do creative real estate. Then we hit the information avalanche of trying to get deals and make our millions so we could be free and have time.
So we need money, but we got to study first, and the time is looming further in the distance.
Which is kind of like saying, I need money to make money.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's how we all started. It's like, I need money. You're getting real estate. I need money to make money. So like, how am I going to do that? So it's like, I need time to make time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it's needing all these things first. I need to study first. I need money first. Then I'll have time. But it's needing all these other things to have what you want. Oh boy. Go ahead.
It's what we call, so you have the be, do, have scale, right?
Yes.
So B is at the bottom, and you have to, so they say do it backwards. If you want to have something, then you just do it. And if you want to do something, you just be it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when somebody says what you just said, I have to have all this stuff first, you're putting have before do. So your scale is be, have, do.
It'd be nice, but magic wand time.
So if you don't have time, how are you going to make it? Right?
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, a week, a month, a year, even a decade passes and no meaningful results happen. Why is this? I've been thinking about this a lot.
Yeah. Well, you might have a clue in that be, do, have thing, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I dare.
Huh?
Thanks for what? Pushing your face in it?
No, I was going to say, thanks for the podcast, Bill. See you next week, folks, as he drinks his tea and contemplates.
I dare to even do this podcast. I really do. I thought about this podcast for several weeks.
Ah.
And here's the reason why. Because I'm going to do this podcast, and either one or two things is going to happen. You're going to think I'm a total, absolute nut job, total freakoid, or genius, depending on which way you look at things.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you my deepest, darkest thoughts about time. And they are pretty strange. And how I deal with it to get everything I want. Now, Peter, because you're here and you're in my life and around me. Yep. So what do you think of me in time?
Of you in time?
Right.
Well, I think you start your day by starting your day and getting going. Sometimes you've told me, today I've got it, and it's a list. And I just see that you just push through everything. You don't think about it. You don't say, like, I don't know if I have time to do it. Maybe the last thing you don't get to, or a few things you don't get to, but you don't seem to dwell on it. You just seem to like, I got today, we're going for it.
Right.
And once in a while, you take a day off.
Yeah. The most common thing I hear about me when people get close to me is, I don't know how you do it. Or how do you do all of that? And I think I'm not doing enough. Okay. I mean, technically, I'm running 3 or 4 companies, and I have no staff. I have people that work for me or work with me, but I have no staff, which I'm going to change pretty soon because I don't like it the way it is right now.
Yeah.
I do work for the most part 7 days a week, but I don't feel like I'm working. I'm just getting shit done.
Yeah.
It's not a job to me. So I hope to make sense and and at least help some of my listeners with my theories.
Yeah.
So here goes. First, I think time is inside of space. And I call my personal space my universe. So time is within space. So if I'm in my office, my universe or my space is surrounded by 4 walls, right?
Yeah.
There's like barriers around me to space. In
Mm-hmm.
other words, like I can decide, but it's how much space can I have,
Mm-hmm.
or willing to accept, or willing to control,
Mm.
or willing to take responsibility for. How much space can I have?
Yeah.
Like how far out can I reach? How far out do I want to be?
Yeah.
Right? Now I have family members which will remain nameless,
Mm-hmm.
that can't even get outside of their own head. In other words, their boundaries are within inside their skull. They don't
Oh.
see outside of their own skull. They don't see there's another world out there. We call those people introverted.
Mm-hmm.
People like me are called extroverted because of the amount of space you'll allow yourself to have. How far out will you put your boundaries? How
Mm-hmm.
far out are you willing to accept? How much are you willing to let into your space?
Yeah.
And how much are you willing to control? Right? How much, we call it randomity, motion. How much motion will you allow inside that space? A lot, a little, none? Like, is there like too much motion, not enough motion, normal motion? There's a scale there.
Yep.
Like, how much can you control? How much are you comfortably controlling? Like, so there's a room. Say there's a room of 50 feet by 50 feet,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you're in the room, and you're like in charge of this room, right? Like let's say you're in a room that's 50 feet by 50 feet, and you have people in that room. How many people can you handle? Is it 10? Is it 20? Is it 50? Is it 100? So there's a point where you're comfortable, and then there's a point where it's a little bit more than comfortable and a little bit less than comfortable,
Right.
right? Like not enough.
Mm-hmm.
So when I look at space as having like boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
right? And inside those boundaries are me. I'm in those boundaries. I'm allowing those boundaries to be where they are. I push them out, I pull them in, right?
Mm.
I allow those boundaries to be where I am comfortable, or a little bit more than when I'm comfortable, or a little bit less than when I'm comfortable. Like when I'm bored, I push out my boundaries, right? And I take in more environment. When I'm not bored, I pull I pull those boundaries in, and I have less environment to deal with, so I can be more comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So you push your boundaries out, or you pull your boundaries in without even knowing. Okay, does that make sense?
It makes sense. People talk about this just in different words. So you're not speaking things that are completely crazy. Even like, how much do you feel like you can take on? That's typical.
Right.
Oh, I don't want to take too much on. Or there's, I don't mind talking to you, but I don't want to talk on stage to a lot of people. Just can't handle that much action, motion, people, environment, space is too much.
Right.
I'd rather play coffee houses. I don't want to be in a big club.
Yeah,
All
right.
that stuff. I wound up on stage at a UConn University in a big concert. The lights came on. I couldn't see the audience. And as we played, it went from 1,000 to 7,000 people in the stadium at UConn.
Right.
And when I came off stage, Mary will tell you, my knees buckled when I saw the audience. Like, holy crap.
Right.
It's a little overwhelming. Like, oh boy. So it's space. It's how much can you manage?
Right. So JR, you're asking me a question that's not pertaining to the podcast about what listing sites we use for residential properties. Please go to flippinghousesforrookies.com and send me a support ticket, and I will answer you there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sorry, buddy. We're in the middle of a podcast.
We're in the middle of a crazy podcast.
Yeah. So I will absolutely love to help you, but just send a support ticket, okay? All right. So you have this space around you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing you need to understand is you control that space. Nobody else does.
Or you should.
And if you don't, and we're going to talk about that later, then others will control it for you. Okay, so now you have this space. Let's say it's my office, right? My office is, I don't know, 15 feet by 15 feet. It's not a big office,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you have these like barriers or walls around the office, or boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Now, check this out. In space, in my office, objects and things move within that space. Do you agree? So in your space, so you have these boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
They could even be make believe. They don't have to be walls or nothing. They're just boundaries that you set there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even if they're inside your head, the boundary's inside your head. It's your skull, right?
Yeah.
There are things that move around, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, it could be as simple as an idea, or it could be objects in the physical universe. They move, right?
Yeah.
And as those objects move around, they're creating time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It allows you to see movement, and to me, that's time. So, what provoked this podcast? This is kind of like a little bit weird. Okay.
Yeah.
Pamela, my wife, and I, several weeks ago, she stumbled upon my daughter gave us Disney Plus, so she's been watching Disney Plus, right? She gave us. She's letting us use her password. We shouldn't be telling that over public waves, but we have Disney Plus, which I will buy if we can't use my daughter's anymore, right? And so she's been watching Disney Plus. So there was a documentary on there about Mickey Mouse.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it was pretty damn cool. So I'm watching this documentary with her, and what struck me is the artist, which is not, they're not showing him. He's talking while he's drawing.
Yep.
And he's got this board in front of him, and he's got these pictures, and he's drawing, and he keeps flipping back to the last drawing. Right? So he would peel the last drawing, because he's got a whole string of drawings, because they flick them, right, to make motion picture. So they're still drawings, and they like fan them like a deck of cards, right? They fan them. I don't know how to describe it.
You can do that if you have a little pad of paper. I've done it. You take a little pad of paper and you draw a guy like moving slowly.
Right.
You take like 20 sheets, you go brrr with your thumb, and you can make like your own cartoon at home with little pads.
Right. So this struck me. It wasn't the words he was saying. He was completely talking about something completely different. He was talking about Walt Disney, but I was watching him work, and he's making the drawings, and he keeps peeling it back and draw, peel it back and draw. And then they would show the fanning of these drawings in the early 40s and 50s, or whenever he was around, right?
Yeah.
So it occurred to me, that's time.
Yeah.
It's things moving. It's still animate objects that are moving.
Yeah.
That's time. He made time by fanning those cartoons, those still pictures, to make it look like they're moving.
Yeah.
That's time. Now, a little bit more weirdness. We've been doing a lot of webinars for Creative REI Reply, which is our new software it's a creative real estate system in a box, which is doing unbelievable. It's catching on, and people are doing all kinds of crazy shit with it. When I design my webinars, I design them just like that author does. I mean, just like that artist does. It's like I fan my content so that it stays continuous, and it doesn't have a break in it. So like if you're fanning it and the character's moving, if there's a page missing, it jumps, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't look good. So when I'm writing like the podcast, or when I'm creating my webinar, I'm doing that fanning in my mind. It's like I'm making sure there's not something missed, so it jumps or skips 2 or 3 slides.
Yeah.
Right? This is time. If you miss something or skip something, it'll look odd.
Mm.
So if you were to say, in my office, for an example, in my office, there's 4 walls. And if you're standing at one wall and a person is to your left at the wall to your left, and they were to walk across the room to the right wall, that is time. It's objects moving in space.
Yep.
And it doesn't have to be physical objects, because you could have mental image pictures do the same thing. They're moving. That is time. Right? Now, here's another little fact in the perspective of time.
Mm-hmm.
So you have your space like we just talked about, right? You have your walls or your barriers or your boundaries. We'll call them boundaries, right?
Yep. Yep.
And here you are walking around with these boundaries around you. It could be 6 feet around you. It could be 2 feet around you. Hell, some people have the whole country as their boundary, and they walk around with the whole country
Yeah.
around them, right? It's some people are really big that way. They have big boundaries. They have a lot of space, right?
Yep.
So you're walking around just for illustrative purposes. Let's say a 6 foot square. So it's 12 foot. A 12-foot circle is around you, 6 feet on either side.
Okay.
So you're walking around like in this bubble,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And it's got your universe in it. It's your space, and things are going on inside of your bubble, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then somebody else walks into your space. So now here's what happens. You have your objects or your stuff moving around, bouncing around within your boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And they walk into your space, and now their stuff is moving around and bouncing around in your space.
Oh boy, this sounds like trouble.
So it gets a little bit more motion. It's that plus motion that I was talking about. Like maybe you don't want that motion in your space.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely going to interfere with what you want to do with your day, your objects, your things you have in mind. You're in your world. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Blah 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 blah. And then something else comes in. So that's not your game plan now, is
And
it?
we're going to get to that unless they're on the same page as you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. All right, let me catch up to my notes. So that means that their thoughts, because realize it's not just objects, it's thoughts move around too, right? Their ideas.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have you picked up on somebody else's thought?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you walk into a room and say, were you guys just arguing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
You can feel that in the air.
Or did you guys just get done having sex?
Ooh.
Or something like that, like this, you'll pick up on it, right? And I only say that because usually that's not something that people tell other people they're doing, right? So a mother may say to a daughter, what aren't you telling me? Like they're perceiving it, picking it up, right?
Yeah.
So that means all their thoughts and surroundings get dumped into my space even if I didn't want it. So they have their bubble, you have your bubble, right? And I have my time, they have their time because objects are moving, right? And then you have the physical universe, has its own ideas. And these three universes are interacting and all meshing time, right? So if you have your bubble and I have my bubble, and then we're like in my office and we both agree that there's a desk sitting there, then all of a sudden your bubble and my bubble and the physical universe all align and everything's good. Right? Does this make sense or is it too weird?
No, it makes sense because I read some of the same books you do, so it's easier for me to track, but it's making sense because sometimes somebody comes into your little world, your bubble, and it's like, oh, good, they're here. Or, oh, no, this person's here.
So it's exactly where I'm going right now. So if you have ideas about creative real estate, right, and they don't like it,
yep.
right?
Yeah.
Now that space is contaminated, right?
Oh,
it's got counter thought or opposite of what you want.
Yep.
Right? And there's a problem. You have your thought, they have their thought, and they collide. And it creates a problem.
Yep.
Right? Or They pretend, oh no, I'm okay with it. They pretend this is the worst. This is the worst. They pretend, oh no, everything is good. No, I agree with you. And then work invisibly against your intentions behind your back where you can't see them.
Lovely. Lovely.
This is the one that I run into all the time.
Ooh.
The pretenders, the actors.
Mm.
They're chameleons. They fit into your universe and they get in there and then they steal from you and you don't even know it.
Yeah.
They're the person that tells you to your face they love you and then stab you in the back when you're not around. This is promiscuous people. This is the person that cheats on somebody else in a marriage. This is a person that doesn't have a very high ethical presence, right?
Yep.
This is Hollywood. They're all actors and actresses. They're not really being who they are. They're being somebody else to get what they want. And in Hollywood, it's money or fame, right?
Yeah.
Which is why I come up with the statement. The reason why the statement that I make all the time is trust is built on what you say. Your actions match what you say. Because I've had so many of these covert, sneaky little termites that gnaw away at my foundation that I don't even know are there until the foundation tips down a little bit or collapses a little bit. I don't even know they're there. And all this time I'm trying to build my creative real estate business or one of my enterprises. And I got some, as fast as I'm throwing the coal in, they're taking it out. And the steam engine can't run.
Yeah.
So I'm constantly on the lookout for the people that, with their words, don't match their actions. They tell me they're going to do something and then they don't do it. That's a big red flag for me. That's a red flag. In other words, it's a warning. Like, you have one of these people that are being very covert and they're sneaking around and they're a camouflaged person in your universe that is not in agreement with your passion.
Yeah.
Which is I don't have this written down. I thought about it afterwards. This is the reason why having aims or goals and passion is so important, and belief. So aim, passion, and belief are the three ingredients that are the most valuable to anybody because they are what controls your space. Right? So if you have an aim, like I want to get one creative real estate deal done before July 4th. Right? And you're passionate about it. Passionate means that you really want it. You're sentimental about it. It's a feelings thing more than a business thing. And you'll do anything to get it.
Yep.
Like love and fear is passion. Right? Their feelings, their emotions.
Yeah. Well, that's what either propels you or stops you, right? If you have an idea, an aim. I'm reading Think and Grow Rich again. And it has chapters on different parts of what you're talking about somewhat. And you have a belief, something you're trying to do. And it's just a thought in your head. What gets you off your ass and moving? Like, I really want to do that, or I really don't want to do that. And certainly that can change day to day as you get pummeled by what you're talking about. But that emotion is what gets you into action. Or
and
not.
the most important thing is that you believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's aim, passion, belief. Right. So belief is what gives you the confidence of your passion and will help you hit your aims or goals.
Yeah.
Right. Now, if somebody brings their space into yours, like we're talking about, and they doubt it or they get you to doubt it, it cracks the ice on a frozen lake that you end up eventually falling into. Right? Because you allowed it to penetrate your barriers and accept those beliefs or accept those ideas. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's moving objects or moving ideas that's time. That either makes time or wastes time.
Yeah. So they'll either chip away at your aim, your emotion on it, or your belief, huh? One or the
Yeah,
other.
they're either helping it or hurting it. They're either
Yeah.
helping the motion or they're hurting the motion.
And
Right?
it's almost like they're sneaky because, like, how do they know to do that? Like, I think I'll ruin his aim. Like, they're just intuitive on that, right? They
Right.
just hit your emotion, your belief.
Well,
your
this is
aim.
the reason why, and then we're going to move on in about 2 seconds here because we spent too much time on this. So this is the reason why this statement is way too profound. You should repeat this statement 20 times in the next day or two. You can pick your friends, but you can't pick your family. I got to tell you, I'm 59 years old, and my dad just passed away.
Mm-hmm.
He was 83, I think. I'm 59 years old, Peter. 59 years old, and I don't think I'm a dumb guy. I don't think I'm a smart guy, but I don't think I'm a dumb guy.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea how much he influenced everybody in our family.
Really?
Now that he's gone, the fighting has stopped. And my two sisters and my mother and I get along like we have never gotten along in 40 years. My mother is the sanest that she's been in 40 years, and she was a crazy woman. We actually all talk to one another. It's amazing how we get along. And it's been a few months now. We all talk to one another. Everything is smooth. There's no drama. There's no anything.
That's funny. I never met your dad, but I heard you talking about him a little bit. And I always thought he was kind of the quiet guy just sitting in the chair off in the corner.
Yeah, those are the ones you got to worry about.
Yeah, huh? Wow.
All right, so let's move on. Let's make this a little bit more practical, right? Because we've been a little profound here, and I'm sorry about that. So let's bring all this out of Bill's head and out into the physical universe so we can use it a little bit. So let's do a little drill.
Okay.
So what if you were to take a piece of paper and lay it landscape, a piece of blank paper, white blank paper, and lay it this way, landscape.
Yeah.
Okay, which means it's long left to right.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Is everything okay there? It sounds like somebody's scraping something. Right? Is that?
You know, I think my neighbor is drilling into something like over.
Oh.
Way outside somewhere.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah,
I just want to make sure that everything's all right because I can
do a little construction somewhere here.
It's totally fine. I just want to make sure everything's okay. So.
Yep.
So you lay a piece of paper, a blank piece of paper, long ways, so it's left to right is the longest width, right?
Mm-hmm.
Down the middle of the page, you draw a line.
Up and down.
So you split the piece of paper in two spaces, in half. So you have a left space and you have a right space, right? On the left side of that piece of paper, and you're not going to be able to do this in one sitting. I have found the first time it takes a few days, sometimes a week. On the left side, you should put down all the things that you currently do. Now, I'm talking about going to the bathroom. I'm talking about taking a shower. I'm talking about having sex, if you have sex. I'm talking about balancing your checkbook. I'm talking about eating food. I'm talking about everything you do.
Mm-hmm.
And just one or two sentences. Just kind of like take an inventory of your motion, of what you're doing, of how you're moving around. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Just write it all down. And like I said, it might take you a week. Some people might, with me, I've done this many times. So, you know me, I have certain areas where, like this podcast, every Thursday morning at 9:30, my entire world knows, don't call me, don't talk to me, Don't come in my office. Don't bother me. Leave me alone. I'm doing the podcast. And my entire world, which is a lot of people, no, I'm not doing it at 9:30 on Thursday morning.
Mm-hmm.
I have something already in that space, in that time block. Right? So on the left side of this piece of paper, you're going to write down all the things you are currently doing. Okay? Everything. Even if it's smoking a joint or having a cigar or writing in your diary. I don't care what it is. Everything that you do, you should put in there.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now on the right side of the page, put down the things that you want to do. The things that you aspire to do. Like I want to go to the gym, or I want to get a creative real estate deal, or I want to make an extra 50,000, or I don't care what you want to do. You want to read a book, you want to write a book, you want to create a relationship, I don't care. On the right side, write down what you want to do. I hope creative real estate is in there, right?
And maybe it's on the other side already.
Yeah, maybe it's on the left side. Okay. So now you got this piece of paper, and you might have to do it on a couple big pieces of paper, but you keep the system the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now you have this piece of paper. On the left side is all the things that you are doing. On the right side are the things that you would like to do. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, here's the Bill's plan and thinking on this, and most important part of the podcast. Get a calendar. And I prefer a physical printed calendar at first. I've had students do this with like Google calendars.
Mm.
The electronic calendars don't have the same effect. You will eventually put it on an electronic calendar, but the first couple times, use a calendar, use pencil so you can erase it and move it around.
Now you're talking about the kind of like the daily that has lots of lines. You could put a lot of things on it, like a whole page per day, that kind, like a book kind.
Yeah, so I would do a calendar. That's a good point, Peter. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, although it's not the little box, there's no room to write. So
it's a day calendar. So preferably with the times on the left-hand side. So from 5 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock at night, or whenever your waking hours are.
Right.
Right. And this could mean like I wake up at 5 a.m. and I watch TV for 45 minutes before I get out of bed. Then I get up and I go to the bathroom. I take a crap. I take a shower. I shave.
Mm-hmm.
Then I get dressed. Right. Oh yeah, and on Tuesday mornings I do it differently because I have to be to work earlier.
Mm.
Right. So you just kind of like lay it out.
Yep.
Right. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna get the calendar, the day calendar, for 7 days. Okay. You're eventually gonna want to do a month because there's some things you do, like paying your bills might be once a month. Right.
Yep.
You're gonna start putting these pieces onto the calendar. Think of them as puzzle pieces.
Mm.
So like if you wrote down like I go to the grocery store to buy food.
Yep.
That's a piece. You take that piece out and you plug it into the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
Now the reason why you should use physical paper and a pencil and an eraser is because you're going to have to move them around, because you're going to realize at first that your puzzle is scattered. It's messed up. So you're trying to put the pieces together and coordinate them, right? Which, by the way, one of the things that you should have on the left side of your paper is pleasure. It's not just all work. Like when do you spend time with your kids or your grandkids, or when do you go out to dinner with a spouse or a friend? I can promise you, Peter, the first thing that went on my calendar was cigar smoking. Because my wife has asked me 100 times. She finally stopped asking me, why do you go to the cigar shop? It's a stinky, danky place. And I'm like, because there's guys there, and we talk guy stuff. It's testosterone. We go there. I mean, there actually, believe it or not, women come in now, but you go in, and it's just a place for me to go. I don't have to perform. I don't have to be anybody in any cigar lounge. I don't know if you know this or not, but everybody's created equal.
Mm-hmm.
A good cigar lounge, you could be a multi-billionaire or you could be a pauper, and it doesn't matter. Everybody's created equal. There is no status. Everybody's there to relax, have a cigar. A lot of people drink. I don't drink, but a lot of people drink, right? They have their cocktail and they're there to relax. So all kinds of things comes up. You know, there's all different kinds of races, you know, colors of skin, you know, there's different religions, there's different political views. It's just a place to go and chill out. That's a good cigar lounge, right? So that's my release. That's where I go when I feel like I'm getting all wound up, which isn't often, but when I do, I go there and I just kind of like go there for an hour or two, and I come home and I feel relaxed. So that goes on my calendar. Right.
You know, talk about spaces, like how you began the podcast. This is really changing your space, isn't it?
I'm getting there.
Oh man!
See,
I'm sorry. I'm tracking with you.
It's good. No. This is good. I'm glad because hopefully my listener is doing the same. So
yeah, so you have to change your space. It's like, I got to get out of here. Well, it's changing your space.
Right. So, like I said, just like the walls in your office, you're carrying around these invisible walls wherever you go. So, to your point, so it's like you're going to go to the grocery store and buy groceries. So you're in your 6-foot bubble, right? Or your 10-foot bubble, or maybe it's the whole grocery store. You need to take that space and put it on the calendar.
Yeah.
So you can do what you need to do while you're there. Right?
Yeah.
So
that's an interesting point. While you're there, Mary and I, wife, although we have some work out of the house, it's mostly in the house. So we have an office with four workstations. We have a living room and we have a kitchen. So I had to make a rule to myself, like when we're having breakfast, don't talk about business, just have breakfast. Wait till you get in the office, talk about business and personal stuff, maybe in the living room, but leave them separate so you don't get yourself crazy.
One of the things that we talked about not too long ago, and I don't remember which podcast it was, and I wanted to get into this, but we talked about your environment influencing you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So like habits. So like if you're trying to lose weight, don't have a box of cookies next to you and your chair when you're watching TV.
Yep.
Right? Because those provoke you to want to eat the cookies.
Yeah.
So just what you're saying, when you're talking about space and time, right? You have certain, like a lot of people tell me, not a lot, I've had several people tell me they don't work good from home. My first question I ask them is do you have an office? And they're like, no. So they're trying to work at their kitchen counter. And they have kids and they have family. Well, you can't do that because the kitchen counter or their kitchen table is where they have dinner.
Yeah.
So kids come there and they don't know the difference. They don't know that you're working. They come there thinking that that's where they come to talk because when you have dinner, you all talk, right?
Yeah.
So they're coming there thinking that's where they should talk. You see what I mean? So when you start looking at these spaces and start setting them up with the tools that you need for the work that you're doing. So you're doing what you're doing while you're doing it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like you have to pay your bills. So when you sit down, you need your bills and you need your checkbook. Otherwise you can't do the job. Right? So you're doing what you're doing while you're doing. I will tell you, Dan Kennedy wrote a book on time management, and he talks about a time vampire. And there's all different kinds, and he's talking about the guy that comes in your office and wants to talk about the baseball game. And he interrupts you. That's not good. Another thing that happens is suppose you're at your desk and you have papers on your desk and you pick up a piece of paper and you look at it and you don't do anything with it and you put it back down again, you just doubled your work.
Yep.
Because now you got to pick it up again later and do something with it. So either leave it there until you're ready and then do what you need to do with it,
Mm-hmm.
or when you pick it up, complete the cycle of action, which we're going to get to that in a minute.
Okay. Yeah.
So you're going to take these sections of time and put them in your calendar. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So realize that each one of these things that you wrote down on this piece of paper have responsibilities.
Mm.
Like if you're going to the grocery store, you have a responsibility to get enough food for you and your family. Right? So you have multiple responsibilities in life.
Mm-hmm.
Some are more important than others.
Mm.
The one that we tend to shed too quickly is the responsibility to take care of ourselves, to make sure we've had plenty of nutrition, plenty of sleep, keep our moods in good shape, and energy so we could do our day. Especially if you're somebody like me that you touch a lot of lives. So I have to take care of myself, because otherwise I influence more than just my life, more than just my family's life. I have partners, and I have friends, and I have responsibilities. So like me, I'm dad, I'm husband, I'm copywriter, I'm deal maker, software developer, I'm treasury. I write all my own checks. I'm the establishment guy for my businesses. I'm manager. I could rattle on. I have a bunch of different responsibilities.
Mm.
And I have to put those responsibilities on my calendar. So when I'm dad, it has to be on my calendar. So when I'm with my daughter and her two children, which are my grandkid, I'm being dad and grandpa. I'm not allowing the world to come in, creep in, and take that away from me. I'm being dad and I'm being grandpa, because I time block that time to be with them.
That's so real. You and I work together most of the time. Once in a while we go hang out, but mostly it's work. And you had a party for your family. I was at a restaurant. We were all there. I was part of the family. We were all there. And you were totally a different guy.
Yeah.
You were like much happier, much more calm, because you weren't dealing with all the work stuff we got to do.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, look, there's Bill as Bill. It was
Right.
interesting. Like the change was quite different.
And my grandkids know me as that. I mean, they grandpa, and they come running over, but I don't see them a lot, but when I do see them, it's valuable time, because I'm there with them and I'm not distracted.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you have roles in life, and each has its own space and its own responsibilities, its own tools, its own objects, its own ideas, its own results. So you have to put them, you're not just time blocking, you're putting these in your calendar so that they're in spaces so you can go create these.
Mm-hmm.
Right? All right. So as soon as you can clarify these spaces and what's moving around in each one of these spaces, you'll start to notice things will lighten up for you, because it's not nebulous or gray or foggy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Then you'll notice when you're like I told you, like in the room, you have a person that walks across the room.
Mm.
When you start isolating these spaces in your roles and your responsibilities, you'll start to notice what's moving around in these spaces.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll start to realize if you're controlling it or not controlling it. If it's random motion or controlled motion, whether you're proactive or reactive. Right? Let me catch up to my notes here. So when you start noticing things are moving around, you start to notice that things start, things move, and things finish.
Hopefully.
Right?
Yeah.
This is much like a farmer who plants, then cultivates or grows his crop, and then harvests it. Right? So there's a start, there's motion, and then there's a stop. That's as old as time. That's been around since, I don't know, that's since the Roman times.
Since sunrise.
Yeah, exactly. Right? So you'll start to notice that When it's time to harvest, you harvest. When it's time to plant, you plant. When it's time to cultivate, you cultivate. So everything you're working on is in this plant, cultivate, harvest stage.
Yeah.
And you'll start to notice that. Right? So when you're taking these activities and putting them into your calendar, you're making blocks of time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And these blocks of time are promises to yourself. They're appointments with yourself that are going to allow you to do the planting, the harvesting. I mean, the planting, the cultivating, and the harvesting.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what happens. Your attention is going to start to get isolated. You're not going to have dispersed attention and intention. You're better off to work on something for 15 minutes and have 100% attention and intention for 15 minutes than to try to do it in an hour and have dispersed attention and intention.
Yeah. I use that sometimes. You talked about it a couple of times. I think I forget who said it though. I don't know if it was Dan Kennedy, but sometimes I'll set my timer on my phone for 30 minutes or 60 minutes and just focus. And it's the opposite effect happens to me. It's like, instead of like, I got to do this for an hour, it's like, crap, let me see how much I can get done in an hour or 30 minutes. Right. And it's really so much better. And it's like, bang, you get a lot done. And then you can move on to the next thing. It works really well.
Yeah, that's a copywriter. I think it was Gary Halbert.
Mm-hmm.
He would set a kitchen timer for 33 minutes and just write for 33 minutes.
Yeah.
And then it would go off and we'd get up and go to the bathroom. He'd move around and then he would edit. But he would write, just solidly write for 33 minutes. His theory is that our attention span is 33 minutes was what he said.
Well, yeah, that certainly is variable. And I resent the being pigeonholed. But whatever exactly works, seriously, whatever works for you. That's too much psychology. Everybody's, could be better or worse. But whatever works for you. And 30 minutes isn't a bad, or 33. And I went for an hour. Woohoo!
All right, so we got 3 minutes to go, and I have 2 more pages of notes. So I'm taking too much time.
I do have a question though. Like we fill in the schedule. Was that the stuff we're already doing, or adding in the stuff we want to do as well?
Both.
Yeah, because I didn't get that we're adding that stuff in, because will you find a lot of holes in that where you can plug in the other things? Yep. Or figure that I better move things around because I'm wasting too much time.
When you start concentrating, like doing something, and because things that used to take you an hour are going to take you 15 minutes. If you isolate your attention and intention, and you have undisturbed time, you're doing what you're doing while you're doing it. You will notice your time will start to free up.
Yeah.
If you take other people's distractions out of your space and start controlling that and letting them only interrupt you certain times of the day, then you'll do better. So in other words, what you're doing is you're moving objects around and placing things in and out of your space when you want them. So you're proactive with your time.
Yeah.
Right.
Instead of wicked dispersed, huh?
Right. So realize this. This is a formula in life. Consistent, repeated actions plus time equal inconsistent results.
Say that again?
Yeah, consistent, repeated actions plus time equal inconsistent results. Because think about it. Nothing in this world, it's either growing or shrinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you need to create. The only thing you can do is create.
Right. But it sounds like you're going someplace good. Consistent activities over time should do something good. Why is it bad?
Because you're probably doing the wrong things. Like you're allowing distraction. It's got to be concentrated.
Oh, okay.
It's got to be purposeful. Like we said, it has to be aligned with your purpose, right?
Okay.
So your job in this universe is to keep things moving. Because like I said, either things are growing or they're shrinking, right? I didn't invent that. That's just a law, right?
Yeah.
So that means you have 2 choices, right? One, you could decide what and where to move things so you get what you want. Or two, allow someone else to move their stuff around in your world constantly, be distracted and unhappy with your lack of results.
Mm. Okay.
Successful people are those who understand that the little choices they make matter. And because of that, they choose to do the things that seem to make no difference at all in the act of doing them. I'll put away $25 a week. Doesn't seem like a heroic thing while you're putting away $25 a week. At age 30, you do that. And you do that for 30 years. And then all of a sudden, at 60 years old, you're a millionaire. All of a sudden, it becomes heroic.
Yeah.
But it wasn't heroic while you were putting away $25 a week. I'll just call one seller a day. Doesn't seem like heroic work. It doesn't seem like you're even doing creative real estate. I'll just call one seller a day. I'll text, I'll send a message on Messenger to 5 people a day on Facebook and ask them, would they be willing to rent the house for a year or two and then sell it to me? Doesn't seem heroic, but if you do that every single day, sooner or later, somebody's going to say yes, and all of a sudden you got a $20,000 deal or a $5,000 deal.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, one day if you just do a little bit, like I said, you're better off to do 15 minutes with full attention and intention aligned to your purpose and believe it's going to happen than to do 2 hours thinking the same thing. You have to have focused attention. That's the point of this podcast is everything has to be focused. The more focused you are, it's like a laser beam. It's this little tiny little beam, right? The size of a pencil, but it cuts through steel. Because all that energy, all that electricity, all that power is in this little, there's a lot of energy and power in that little beam, but it cuts through 10 inches of steel. That's you as a human being. That's your capability. That's your potential. If you just allow yourself to do that. Be that laser beam and just be focused and and I'm not even saying set goals because I don't believe in that, but set your aims. Like, this is my aim. This is where I want to go. And keep reminding yourself that those are your aims. And every day, do something towards those aims. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but make it consistent, constant, focused attention, intention, with purpose as its fuel. And you'll start to notice the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so lastly, what I do once my time blocking is done, when I get an idea, like I'm driving down the road and I'll see a billboard and I'll be like, oh my God, that's a great idea. Or I'll hear something on the radio, or I'll be in the car with you and you'll have some bright idea. Right? And I'll be like, oh my God, I never thought of that. Which, by the way, if you notice successful people, if you talk to successful people, a vast majority of them, and I would say goddamn close to 100% of them, you'll find out they all read. Why do they read? Because they're getting other people's perspectives on how to do things, especially that they're doing. It's an easy way to get experience when you read how somebody else is doing what you want to do or you are doing. I mean, I go back, I just recently bought a bunch of Subject 2 books from the 70s and went back and read them and got different ideas because they were doing some things different than I was back in the 70s. Right? So here's what happens. So reading does this to me a lot. So it's like you're reading, right? I'm in my time block for reading. And I'm reading and I get an idea. Oh my goodness, I should do that for my marketing. I have a notebook in my pocket,
Mhm.
right? I pay 88 cents at Walmart for these, right? Inside are my notes. All I do is I write down that idea in my notebook. And then when it's time for me to do my marketing, right?
Yep.
In my time block, I take out my notebook and I put it on my list of things to do.
So you don't get distracted from what you're doing, but you don't lose a good idea. You save it from when the right time.
And what happens is it keeps my head clear. I don't have to hold on to that idea and try to remember it and clog up my thinking. So when I'm doing something, I'm doing it with a clear head. I'm not clogged up with trying to remember everything.
Yeah.
Because I write it down. Does that make sense?
No, it's important. If you don't write things down, you have to carry them in your head. Tests have been shown that your IQ will be lower with a bunch of things that you're trying to remember. You didn't do this. I forgot to finish that. I will get to that someday. And it actually lowers your IQ. They've had people finish everything, keep everything written down, finish it or throw it away, get caught up. They test their IQ. It was up 5-10 points. So don't bog yourself down with your head filled with things you have to remember when you have paper or a computer.
Right. Which, by the way, I time block time to do my to-do list.
Okay.
There's certain times a day I work on my to-do list. So I write a to-do list in the morning and I time block times where I'm going to do that.
Mhm.
I actually time block time for distractions. This is when I deal with today's distractions.
Mhm. Wow.
Right. All right. So the last thing I want to say, because we're 6 minutes after past the hour, the last thing I want to say, which is the punchline, is I have this is how I judge people. I've said this before. This is my main judgment of people. This is like my overall, should they be in my world or shouldn't they be in my world?
Mhm.
I observe people, and I figure out if their mentality is about comfort or accomplishment. Because my belief is I buy my loafing time. In other words, if I can get this done, that done, this done, this done, that done, then I can go ride my motorcycle to this, or not. I don't have a motorcycle. Ride my. I don't mean to say that. I don't know why I said that. I can go smoke a cigar.
Mhm. Do you secretly want a motorcycle, Bill?
Yeah, evidently, yeah. Right. I buy my loafing time
Yeah.
because I'm all about accomplishment. So you'll notice in this world that people are either about comfort or accomplishment. Comfort people are like, I work my 40 hours, I'm done. I'm gonna go to the bar, I'm gonna go here, and it's all about like relaxing.
Mm.
Like they're free from prison, so they're gonna go, or they're free from the ship, so they're gonna go in town and they're gonna get all the girls and the whiskey and the whatever they can do, all the out ethics things.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't do that. So I buy my loafing time.
Mm-hmm.
So and it's a game I play with it myself, because here's what happens when you start thinking about life of buying your loafing time.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden you'll start getting clever and getting things done, and what used to take you an hour you can do in 10 minutes.
Yeah, I do the same thing. When I finish all this stuff, then I will blah blah. Right.
Right. And then it'll motivate you to get things done quicker, not sloppily, but quicker.
Well, there's an immediate reward. Some of our rewards are way in the future, especially real estate. It's not like tomorrow morning the money shows up. It's all down the road. So you want something today to give you a little reward. Chocolate brownie, whatever. Take it.
Exactly.
Get your work done first. Work before pleasure. That's an old one.
Yeah, there you go.
Huh.
All right, we're out. We're at 9 minutes after. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to us. Make sure you like us if you're on one of the social media platforms. JR, make sure you send me a support ticket on how you want to find best listings for sites for single-family residential property. I will send you a response, and make sure you leave us a review. And if you have any questions or comments, you can go to flippinghousesforrookies.com, hit the support ticket, or go to WhatsApp Messenger, Flipping Houses. Let's Talk Real Estate is the name of it. Let's Talk Real Estate. Okay, we're over and out. We'll talk to you on episode number 345. Have a good week.